Hi everybody, foXnoMad here, and today I want to help you travel smarter by talking about how I run things on this YouTube channel, on my website, how I work with advertisers, brands, and talking about some of the comments that have accused me of being paid to say nice things about places and products. So I figured that I would just make a video and tell you how I run things, inspired by this MKBHD video. Can you trust MKBHD? So can you trust foXnoMad? I figured I'd tell you how I run things here so you can answer that question for yourself. So over the past year, the foXnoMad team has grown. So I've had to formalize a lot of things that I've been doing on the past, put those from my head down onto paper, and really outline the things that I do and how I interact with advertisers, brands, how I interact with different tourism bodies, and so on. So I figured this is a good time to tell you how I operate so you can make a decision on whether or not you can trust me, foXnoMad. So let's start talking. First of all, the goal behind anything I write on foXnoMad.com, any apps I create, any videos I make here on YouTube, the goal is always travel smarter. How can I help you, the viewer, travel smarter? That's always the goal. And I've always thought that the best way to achieve that goal is to be objective and to be honest with you. If I can't be honest with you, whether it's a place I'm visiting and showing you or reviewing a product, then I really can't help you travel smarter in the fullest sense of that term. Since you're watching on YouTube, I'll focus on the YouTube side of things, but I've been running foXnoMad.com for over 12 years now. I've been making apps for the last 5 years, and I've had this YouTube channel really active for the last 2-ish years or so. So over the last 13 years or so, a lot has changed. Now there's a baby podcast that's 6-7 months old, and a lot of the ways that bloggers, vloggers handle these kind of issues has also changed and evolved, and everybody does things a little bit different, but these are just my personal guidelines on how I run things with all the foXnoMad related mediums. Anytime you see something foXnoMad related, these are the guidelines it's operating under. So when it comes to working on brands, I basically categorize them in 2 different ways. One is just straightforward advertising, and the second one is collaborations. Now, when it comes to straightforward advertising, that can either be banners on my site, they can be spots that you're familiar with, like this video is brought to you by so-and-so, or this episode of the foXnoMad podcast is brought to you by so-and-so. And one of the rules I have with working with advertisers is that the content is separate from the advertisement. So the advertiser has no influence on the content. We work on the ad within my personal limits, and then the ad is crafted and it's placed either in the podcast, this podcast is brought to you by, and so on, but it doesn't have any effect on the content. And that's just one of the lines I won't cross. I won't give advertisers influence over the content. Also, and it's pretty rare that an advertiser would want that, but I don't put any ads about a company on a video or podcast episode that is about that company. So if I'm reviewing a product, for example, if I'm reviewing a camera or a lens, and that manufacturer wants to run an ad on that particular video, then that would be a no-go for me. So you wouldn't see that. And speaking about advertising, foXnoMad, not always me, but the company is based in the United States, where I'm legally required to disclose any sponsorships or advertising. And you'll always see any ads or sponsorships clearly marked, whether it's on YouTube or on my site or on the podcast. You'll know when you're seeing or hearing an ad versus actual content. And the same is true about travel. If I were ever paid to go somewhere, if I were ever paid to visit a place, then I would have to disclose that, but we'll get to that more in a second. So when it comes to collaborations, the way I see collaborations are, they basically give me an opportunity to do something that I wouldn't be able to do on my own. So in that similar vein, talking about some things that wouldn't have been possible, for example, like when I drove across the US in a pre-release Ford, or when I went to the Galapagos Islands on this sailboat, or when I was driven around an F1 track by a Formula 1 driver. Those are the kind of opportunities I wouldn't be able to create on my own. So that's where collaborations happen. Those are also always disclosed, but there's no paid compensation. I don't get paid for any of those opportunities. And honestly, those are pretty rare in the 10, 12 years of this blog or this YouTube channel. That's happened only a handful of times, and they have to be really special cases. And when it comes to collaborations, I always maintain creative control, and I don't allow the person or the company or the brand I'm collaborating with to affect whatever content I do happen to create. That's always a line that's there. That's a line that I won't cross. And that's just how I do things. It's one of the reasons I don't do press trips, traditional press trips in that sense. I know a lot of travel bloggers and vloggers do press trips, but they're just something that I'm not really interested in. I'd rather just pay for my own travel or my own tech and just go places and say whatever I want. I want that objective freedom, and I'm in a position, fortunately, that I can do that. So I go places because I want to go places, and I do things because I want to do things because I find them personally interesting, and I find that maybe there's something there that I can show you or that's interesting to you, the viewer, and it might teach you how to travel smarter in some way, which is really, like I said, the core mission. Now, one of the things I've gotten better at over the past couple of years is the use of the term review. Basically, a review, whether it's tech or really it's mostly tech, it's not going to be reviewing a place per se. But when it comes to tech, a review is me giving you my objective feedback on a product, how it works, the specs, whether or not you should buy it, and so on. So advertisers don't pay for reviews. When I do a paid review, it's not a review, it's more of a showcase. So I've worked with brands before to highlight a certain product and what it can do, show you what the product is all about. But in the end, I give you the facts. I just show you, highlight the product's features. But in the end, it's really up to you whether or not you want to make that purchase decision. And it's always disclosed whether or not I'm paid for such a showcase. I'll always disclose that to you. Now, in terms of products, most of the products that I receive, I purchase. So they're just straight purchase. Like a lot of the tech that you see on the channel is purchased by me. But I do have what's called an open inbox policy. So let me explain what open inbox means. Basically, an open inbox policy is brands are free to send me products to my shipping address if they want to send me something for a potential review or a potential look at. And that's basically it. I don't make any promises whether I'll even open the box, whether I'll do a review, whether I'll make any kind of content, whether I'll do any kind of anything on any timeline. So it's essentially, if you want to send me your product for a look, for a potential look, then you can send it to me, but I make no other promises otherwise. Sometimes some of those things that come out of the open inbox policy are really good and they'll pop up on the channel, but I'm never paid for that content at all. Companies don't pay me to make videos about their products. And if they do, that would be a sponsored video or something like that, or some kind of advertisement essentially, and that would be disclosed. So that would be maybe a showcase, and that would be disclosed. And the reason I think the open inbox policy can work, especially with brands that kind of understand why I have this open inbox policy, is because companies that think their product is really good are confident that maybe I'll take a look at it and maybe I'll really like something enough to make a video about it. And those brands can then get honest feedback from me, and you can get honest feedback from me about a product, whether or not it's good for travel, whether it's a good tech product, and so on. I essentially want to keep that creative freedom, that objectivity that I have, and I'm really stubborn about it. I'm really crazy about it. If there's a product I'm really interested in taking a look at, whether it's pre-release or it's just released, and it might be easier to get my hands on it by reaching out to the brand, then I'll certainly do that. But again, it'll fall under that open inbox policy. So let's talk about travel, and starting with my flights. Who pays for my flights? Well, I pay for my flights, unless I disclose otherwise, but that's been pretty rare. The last time a brand paid me for a flight was in 2014. And that again was one of these collaborations where it was an opportunity to do something that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to do. It was a good opportunity to work with a brand that I really wanted to work with, and they paid for my flight to visit a destination. Again, that was all disclosed on my website, on the articles that I wrote, on the photos that I took. That was disclosed in all of the content that I made. But in general, 99% of my flights, I'd say all but 2 of them, have been paid by me. And to be honest, the thought of working with a brand to book all my flights or negotiate with them on that, with the amount that I do fly, would be pretty much a nightmare. So it's not something that I'm really interested in. Again, I'm fortunate enough to be in a position to be able to go where I want and to fly where I want and just say what I want and go to places that I think are personally interesting and that you'll find interesting. So paid flights, no, I don't get paid for flights. There have been a couple collaborations in the past, a single collaboration in the past, which was disclosed. And there you go. I go to places because I want to go to places, which is why I find a lot of the comments on the Pakistan versus India video I made particularly interesting, where a lot of people have accused me by being paid by a government to visit Pakistan, for example. And that's one line that I just won't cross. So when it comes to working with official government bodies or tourism boards, that's something that I just won't do. And I've done in the past twice. So in 2011 and in 2018, when Porto in Portugal won the Best City to Visit travel tournament, When Granada won again the second time in 2018, they provided me some entrance tickets to some of their main touristic sites. I wasn't paid to go to those places. I always go to the place that wins the best city contest. They didn't pay me to talk about their cities. They just gave me entrance tickets to some of those sites and I took them up on it. Those were also all disclosed. But going forward, and I've been approached by a lot of governments and a lot of official tourism boards to visit places, and I reject all of them. And the reason is because I know a lot of governments want to boost tourism, but on the other hand, they also kind of want to legitimize their position. And if I work with an official government body, in a way, I'm sort of endorsing that government. And the more and more I've thought about this over the years, I've realized that that's just a line that I don't want to cross. I don't want to get paid by a government to go somewhere because one, I'll lose that objectivity. And two, it's because it's sort of a soft endorsement of a particular government by going to a place that's being paid by them. And if you think about it, it's really hard to make that distinction. That takes me away from being a travel vlogger, blogger, tech YouTuber. That takes me away from really doing that. And it makes me more into a political scientist, which I'm not. So if I go to one country sponsored by one government, but not another country because of their government, then it's really me saying, I'll go to this place, but I won't go to that place. And it can get really murky because, a lot of governments don't do good things. So I'd rather just not deal with it at all. And the way I don't deal with it is by not working with official government tourism boards or government bodies. I just won't do that. And I think that makes it easy for me, but I think that also makes it easy for you, the viewer, to know what lines I won't cross and where the content is coming from. I've never been paid for a government to say anything. If I say something good about a place, it's because I really like that aspect of the place. If I say something negative about a place, it's not that a competing country paid me to say something bad. And the same thing with brands. Obviously, Turkish Airlines didn't sponsor this video that I made criticizing their customer service, and I wasn't paid by a competitor of theirs to make that video. That was something that just came out of my experience and a lot of other people's experience. I wanted to share it with you to save you the headache that a lot of people are going through. A lot of times people ask me why I don't go to major touristic sites or why I go to specific places when I visit. And it really comes down to, it's something that I find interesting, that I think you might find interesting, that's maybe unique or different. And I really just want the freedom to travel and see the things I want to see and share them with you as objectively and as raw and honest as possible. And it's worth mentioning with YFox and the other foXnoMad apps, I don't ever sell your information. I will never, ever, ever sell your information. In fact, I designed the apps to use as little information as possible from you just to run the app. So it's the bare minimum. It's all anonymized, so I don't have any identifiable data from you. That's how the apps are designed. If you're curious about any of those privacy policies, I'll link to them in the description below so you can see how YFox, DroneMate, and the other apps use your information and how that data is collected, stored, and processed. I've updated a lot of that information on foXnomad.com to be clear as well, but hopefully this video helps you understand how I run things here and whether or not I'm paid by governments to go places and talk about places and address some of those YouTube comments that have accused me of doing all those things. At the end of the day, if I can't be honest with you, then I failed in my core mission. Over 2,600 blog posts and 300 videos. I failed in my core mission to help you travel smarter. And I hope this video does help you travel smarter by showing you how I run things on foXnomad.com, whether it's this YouTube channel, my site, podcast, and any other medium you find foXnomad. So in the end, I hope the answer to the question on whether or not you can trust foXnomad, I hope the answer is yes. I hope I've laid out all the things that I do and how I run this channel and how I run my website so that you can say yes to the question of whether or not you can trust me. And it's also a very reasonable question to ask, given that the internet space is new and developing and a lot of these things are handled differently by different channels and different bloggers. So this is how I handle things here. So hopefully this video shows you a little bit more on how I work and how I run things, and hopefully maybe allows you to trust me just a little bit more. Of course, if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. Oh, and if you want to get this shirt or any of the other new foXnomad merch, you can check that out also down, linked in the description below. Thanks for watching this video and taking the time to understand how I run things on this channel. If you're still watching, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. I'll have new videos for you every week, and I'll see you in the next video. Hi everybody, foXnoMad here, and today